San Diego researchers look into what caused the death of a gray whale found floating off the coast near Torrey Pines.
There was no notification given to us whatsoever. These bikes just all showed up at once. So we began removing the bikes and getting them off the main street.
The business of dockless bike sharing is booming in San Diego, but one business association is taking matters into its own hands.
He said, I'm with the University of Wisconsin, and we know where your father's plane crashed.
After almost 75 years, a mystery is solved, and a son is finally able to bring his dad home. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Orange County leaders are siding with President Trump over California's sanctuary state law. County supervisors have voted to join a lawsuit filed by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. It challenges the new law that limits local police from helping federal immigration agents. The vote comes a week after leaders in Los Alamitos voted to opt out of the law. California passed the sanctuary law last year to protect immigrants from stepped-up deportation under the Trump administration. California is suing the federal government again, this time over the census. For the first time in more than 50 years, the Commerce Department has placed a question on the census asking people whether or not they are U.S. citizens. California State Attorney General Javier Becerra says this could scare millions away from participating, which could cost the state billions of dollars in federal funding and potentially a congressional seat.
An undercount resulting from this decision would jeopardize vital services for all Californians. It would also jeopardize our representation in government. Adding a question on citizenship threatens to derail the integrity of the entire process.
The Commerce Department must turn its survey questions into Congress by the end of the month for further evaluation. Becerra says he'll petition the federal courts to act on California's lawsuit before the census questions are confirmed. Mexico is pledging to spend more than $4 million to clean the Tijuana River Canal. KPBS's Deb Welsh tells us the promise comes after 2 California cities sued a U.S. agency over the decades-long problem of sewage fouling U.S. wetlands and beaches.
Mexico's National Water Commission says it will strengthen and clean overflow channels and drains to prevent sewage and garbage from flowing into the Pacific near the U.S. border. It also will renovate pumping stations and electrical components to carry the runoff to treatment plants. The cities of Imperial Beach and Chula Vista and the Port of San Diego contend the International Boundary and Water Commission's U.S. section failed to comply with the Federal Clean Water Act. Pollution forced the closure of beaches in parts of Imperial Beach on more than 160 days over the past 2 years. Deb Welsh, KPBS News.
Researchers say a gray whale found floating near Black's Beach likely died from a boat collision. It's at a landfill now, but researchers are digging deeper. KPBS reporter Jade Hindman has more.
So the carcass is gone, but the stench is still here at Fiesta Island. This is where researchers brought the carcass of a whale that was seen floating in the ocean. They brought it here to research and find out what may have killed it. They spent most of the morning today actually taking samples, tissue samples from that whale. I spoke with Justin Visbecki. He's with NOAA Fisheries. I asked him what specifically they're looking for with this whale.
What we typically find, it can range from vessel collisions, entanglements, to things that, humans get, whether it's, some sort of organ failure, a sickness, a disease, an infection. All of those things kind of are on the board, so to speak, when we have whales come ashore.
And Visbecki also said it's a good idea to stay out of the water up near Torrey Pines where the whale was found and here at Fiesta Island just to give it a day or so to clear out. Jade Hindman, KPBS News.
Southern California Edison continues to move nuclear waste to a storage site by the beach at San Onofre. But KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John says the company paused the operation for a week after discovering a design flaw in one of the canisters.
Southern California Edison's chief nuclear officer Tom Palmisano revealed at a recent community meeting that the operation to move spent fuel rods from cooling pools to concrete bunkers had to stop after a bent pin was found in one of the storage canisters. The stainless steel canisters designed by Holtec International are about 20 feet high and designed to hold 37 fuel assemblies. Bent and broken pins were found in other canisters at a plant in Vermont. When asked if the fuel could be removed from the canisters with the defective design, Palmisano said no one has ever done that before.
If you were just to brainstorm, this would probably be a 2 to 3 year project to develop the techniques, pilot the techniques. The NRC would want to have explicit approval on this because of the radiological hazards.
San Clemente resident Gary Hedrick said he's worried that Edison does not have a backup plan if things go wrong.
I'm really concerned how experimental this is and how quickly we're moving forward without an alternate plan that makes sense.
Edison has resumed moving the spent fuel into canisters that have a different design. Hedrick and others at the meeting requested that constant real-time monitoring of radioactivity at the site be made public. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
You may have noticed San Diego's boom of dockless bikes. They're colorful bicycles that can be rented with a smartphone app. But one business district says they're a nuisance. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains.
I'm walking with Maya Rosas along the sidewalk of State Street on the edge of Little Italy next to the I-5 freeway. Rosas is a cycling advocate for a local nonprofit and a resident of Little Italy. Lined up on the sidewalk here are dozens of bikes belonging to the bike-sharing companies Limebike, Mobike, and Ofo.
Yeah, clearly people aren't getting off of their bikes here. And parking them all in the side by side like this.
The bikes were placed here by the Little Italy Association, the neighborhood's business improvement district. Earlier this month, the association asked city officials for a moratorium on the shared bikes, saying they were a liability and could block pedestrian traffic. But Rosa says, based on her own observations, bike sharing in Little Italy has been a huge success.
It's been a total transformation overnight. It's like a dream where people are walking, biking, and driving all in the same place, and it seems to really be working. The only problems I've had is the occasional bike that hasn't unlocked for me. I've seen, families, couples, all just finding bikes and deciding to ride them just from me walking around, shopping, dining, going out in Little Italy. They're so popular.
Rosas acknowledges some new bicyclists may not know the rules for where to park their bikes.
There's definitely education needed for people who are riding these bikes about where to place them to make sure that everyone can walk down the sidewalk and not have any issues, especially people with strollers or in a wheelchair. But the solution is not to get rid of the bikes. The solution is to educate and to promote the usage here.
The Little Italy Association has a record of opposing projects that cycling advocates support. It came out against a plan to build protected bike lanes across Little Italy and the rest of downtown, in part because some of the bike lanes would take up parking spaces for cars.
I just get pissed off when people disrespect this community.
Marco Lamandri is chief executive administrator of the association. He says he would have appreciated more outreach from the companies.
There was no notification given to us whatsoever. These bikes just all showed up at once. So what we had to do in order to protect the people that live here, who visit here, who work here, who own property and businesses here, we began removing the bikes and getting them off the main streets.
When we visited the sidewalk where the association is placing all the bikes, some of them were partially blocking the sidewalk. Lamandri says that should not have happened, and crews were instructed to leave at least 4 feet of sidewalk clear. As a compromise, he's proposed installing more bike corrals on the street, something bike advocates have long supported. Lamandri says he's a cyclist, and he insists he and the association are not anti-bike. But he also questions the need for the new technology.
We want to accommodate bikes, but we also think that if people who live in downtown want a bike, they should just buy a bike and use it. Like I do it all the time. I go to meetings, I lock it up, and I take off.
So far, the approach of both city officials and bike-sharing companies has been to educate riders on the proper way to ride and park the shared bikes and scooters. Rosa says the Little Italy Association should do the same.
Bikes are great for business. If all of these bikes were in Little Italy, that means somebody was riding them here. Getting rid of them means you're getting rid of their opportunity to come in and out of Little Italy.
Other business associations in San Diego have embraced the dockless bike-sharing boom as an opportunity. This Saturday, the El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association is hosting a group ride on the shared bikes with stops at businesses in North Park and City Heights. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Just 2 days before the start of a new season, the San Diego Padres are unhappy with their new radio partner after a social media post drew backlash. Last night, radio host Kevin Kline posted this image of the Coronado Bridge with the words "Jump" to a new morning show. Many Padres fans reacted with disgust, accusing Kline and his station, 97.3 The Machine, of joking about suicide. Today, the tweet was pulled and the Padres put out a statement saying, "We believe Intercom owes San Diego an apology. And even though we don't have ultimate control over Intercom's programming beyond our game broadcast, we apologize for the behavior of the station." The station's parent company, Intercom, and radio host Kevin Kline also released apologies of their own. San Diego parks and government buildings could get equipped with tourniquets. Today, the County Board of Supervisors voted to study the possibility. The vote comes after a trauma surgeon spoke on the importance of responding fast to a bleeding emergency. He's an advocate of the Stop the Bleed campaign, which has gained support after recent mass shootings. Dr. Constantini even demonstrated how to use a tourniquet on Supervisor Ron Roberts.
We know that there's a lot of death from extremity hemorrhage. In 2018, people shouldn't bleed to death from their arms or their legs. We should be able to provide very basic first aid to stop the bleeding until health care providers can arrive.
Stop the Bleed advocates say tourniquets should be stored out in the open so that they can be easily accessed by bystanders willing and able to help save a life. The State Department of Justice is now investigating the police shooting of an unarmed black man in Sacramento earlier this month. The shooting has gained national attention as multiple protests erupted after Stephon Clark was shot and killed by Sacramento police on March 18th. Police video shows officers ordering Clark to show his hands and opening fire shortly after. Clark was reportedly unarmed with only a cell phone in his hands. The Sacramento police chief says he's asked the DOJ to step in because an independent, impartial investigation is needed.
Our community deserves nothing less. I also promise, regardless of the final outcome of this investigation, we will explore and implement ways to better serve our community and find ways to prevent this sort of tragedy in our city.
The Sacramento Police Department says it will give the DOJ full access to its evidence and procedures as the investigation continues. The Navy has again rejected approving a secular humanist chaplain. It's a move that one chaplain who has worked with the San Diego military says hurts those on active duty who share their beliefs. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
Navy Times reports the Navy rejected the application of Jason Heap, who applied to become a military chaplain. A group of congressmen and senators wrote an open letter urging the Navy to reject the military's first humanist chaplain, sometimes described as atheists. The vast majority of chaplains are Christian. Debbie Allen is a private humanist chaplain who has worked with San Diego's military culture.
There is no equal person of any authority in terms of informing them of what humanists might need or non-believers might need. I mean, we have humanists in university settings and hospital settings. Why is it only the U.S. military that is pushing back on this?
Until recently, Allen lived in San Diego and worked to allow secular humanist chaplains to work on Camp Pendleton. The American Humanist Association estimates at least 24,000 active duty troops consider themselves non-believers. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
In 1944, Frank Fazekas Sr.'s plane went down in France. His body was not recovered, but he was never forgotten, not by his son, nor by the boy who witnessed the crash. AP reporter Carrie Antelfinger has the story.
Mark Koch was just 12 years old when he watched an American fighter plane crash on his family's land in northern France.
And when it happened, when the plane fell, there were still bullets exploding.
A P-47 Thunderbolt like this one plummeted to the ground nose first, creating a deep crater. It was about a week before D-Day.
You heard a boom, and then the flames. The flames were up to 4 or 5 meters high.
The American pilot, Frank Fazekas Sr., was killed after government officials deemed the remains non-recoverable. The plane and the pilot were left there for over 70 years. The makeshift grave was eventually covered so they could farm again. Lieutenant Frank Fazekas was only 22 years old. He left behind a young wife and a 6-month-old son, a son who is now 74 years old.
You know, he kind of was my hero. I kind of placed him, I guess, on a pedestal in a sense, and wanted to emulate him.
As a kid, Frank Fazekas Jr. studied his father's war letters. He would later become a military pilot like his dad, flying cargo planes in Vietnam.
Because I'm named after him, and I used to try to sign my name the exact same way.
The family always thought Fazekas was buried in a Belgian cemetery. After his wife died in 2012, their son wanted to scatter her ashes next to his father. But a call in 2015 changed everything.
He said, I'm with the University of Wisconsin, and we know where your father's plane crashed, and his remains were never recovered.
University of Wisconsin researchers were working on a new project with the Department of Defense to help find missing servicemen and women. More than 82,000 Americans remain missing from World War II and other conflicts. Using reconnaissance photographs, witness accounts, and ground-penetrating technology, researchers were able to pinpoint the site where Fazekas went down. Archaeological digs in 2016 and 2017 uncovered some of his remains, along with some machine guns and plane debris. When Fazekas Jr. visited the site in 2016, workers gave him a minute alone.
Being at the last location that his dad had on Earth was, of course, very moving and emotional for him.
He even ended up putting on gloves himself, finding parts of his father's plane.
I'm thinking this possibly could have been off the control stick.
While in France, Fazekas Jr. met with a man who was present for his father's last moments, Mark Koch, who still lives about 300 feet from the crash site.
I mean, it was like family almost. It was just, he and his wife were so gracious and so warm and welcoming. It was just amazing. And he was 12 years old. He gave me information that nobody else had.
Nearly 75 years later, Frank Fazekas Sr. has finally returned home. He'll be buried at Arlington National Cemetery this month with his wife's ashes.
I wanted to do this for him. I wanted to do this for my mother. I wanted to see that he got the burial, the honors that he deserved.
A son fulfilling his sense of duty to a father he only knew in photographs. Carrie Antelfinger, Associated Press.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, California sues the Trump administration over a new census question on citizenship. The details at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Lots of sunshine and dry weather is expected for the next few days. Erin Calandra has tonight's forecast.
We had a beautiful day today here in San Diego County, and I hope you're able to get outside and enjoy it. It's going to stay pretty nice for the next several days. Not much happening here. Precipitation-wise, nothing is going on. We're under the influence of a high-pressure system, so this part of the country is staying dry, sunny, and overall nice. For tonight, we're at 54 degrees. It's going to be pretty clear across the region because of that high-pressure system. So Oceanside, expect temperatures tonight at 42, Chula Vista 49, Mount Laguna, that's the cool spot, 36, and in Borrego Springs, 53 degrees. Now, Wednesday, we are warming up. We have a nice warm flow that is pushing across the region. Temperatures are going to slowly be on the rise. So if you like those warmer temperatures, you're in luck. In Ramona tomorrow at 77, Poway as well, Alpine 75, Oceanside at 70, and San Diego, a nice warm 71. Everyone is going to have beautiful sunshine to enjoy. Now, notice along the coast, we're going to be warming up over the next couple of days, reaching 73 on Friday. By Sunday, a bit cooler for Easter at 69 degrees, but staying dry. And the interior areas, we get up to 80 by Friday, a bit cooler to 73 on Sunday, but everyone is staying dry here. A couple clouds around at times. In the mountains, it's staying in the 60s all week. Our lows in the 40s. Everyone is dry, mostly sunny conditions. And in the deserts, it's getting hot. So we're talking 91 degrees on Friday and Saturday. The time of year where you need to start thinking about drinking more water. Stay hydrated in those hot temperatures. By Sunday, it's a bit cooler, down to 85 degrees, but we are staying sunny and dry for everyone. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra. Ebony, back to you.
Today, San Diego supervisors voted unanimously to ramp up available drug addiction treatment in the county. The plan is to expand the network of providers, increase services, and open those services to more people. The county budget for addiction will triple from about $55 million to about $180 million. Most of the funding increase will be covered by Medi-Cal. The change comes amid a rise in addiction-related deaths, which county officials say are linked to mental illness and homelessness. A new study from UC San Diego's Moore Cancer Center suggests ads for e-cigarettes may persuade young adults to try regular cigarettes. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg has details.
The study involved nearly 11,000 non-smoking young people. Participants were exposed to a variety of ads for smoking products and were interviewed 1 year later. Those who recalled or liked e-cigarette ads were much more likely to have smoked a regular cigarette within the past year. UCSD Moore's Cancer Center Professor Emeritus John Pierce led the study. He says tobacco companies face heavy restrictions on cigarette advertising.
This looks like that they might be able to use e-cigarette advertising to get around them. And, you know, we've noticed that all the main tobacco companies now have got an e-cigarette product. And so they're all in the game.
E-cigarettes are touted as a way for smokers to quit their tobacco habit. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Uber will have to address what happened in the fatal crash in Arizona. The DMV says this is what it will take to renew the company's permit to test self-driving vehicles on California roads. This as more and more car and tech companies roll out safety features found in these cars. AP reporter Mike Householder shows us how they work.
Self-driving cars aren't quite here yet, but some of their safety features are.
Widespread deployment is still a number of years away, but we are starting to see the benefits of that technology being as integrated into vehicles that are coming to market today to help with road safety.
Car and tech companies are rolling out a slew of automated features that either assist or replace human drivers. According to the government, 94% of crashes are caused by human error. Experts say roads will become safer as more vehicles get automated features. That perception was put to the test recently when an SUV featuring Uber's self-driving software struck and killed a pedestrian in Arizona, the first death involving a fully autonomous vehicle. Still, there's reason to believe loading self-driving tech into new cars will improve safety on the nation's roadways.
Anything that can be done to help improve the situational awareness of the driver.
Hyundai is doing that with its 2019 Nexo hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, which lets drivers see without turning their heads.
Blind spot monitors and blind spot
cameras are common, but what Hyundai has done is taken it a step further and integrated the cameras in both the passenger and driver side mirrors and put a screen right in front of the driver.
The 8-inch screen shows everything on that side of the car, plus what's directly behind it.
And it also gives you an audible warning letting you know if the vehicle is present.
The cameras on Mercedes' new S-Class sedans can read speed limit signs, that is, enabling the car's computers to warn drivers if they're over the speed limit to keep them out of ticket trouble. The S-Class will do more than warn the driver.
It will automatically adjust the set speed of the cruise control and slow the vehicle down, even if the driver doesn't do anything actively.
Audi's cars don't read, they talk to traffic light systems.
And they first launched this in Las Vegas, where the system actually will call into the central traffic light control system and determine what the timing of the traffic lights is going to be.
An array of auto safety technology has arrived, and even more is on the way. Mike Householder, The Associated Press, Livonia, Michigan.
Now here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, March Madness has reached its peak with the Final Four, the one team hoping to repeat its championship performance from 1963. And on Midday Edition, taking a chance on a new business, the group mentoring startups in San Diego. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.